And as we digest the budget after it was handed down last night, cost of living relief at the top of the agenda when Jim Chalmers got to the dispatch box. The government promising $14.6 billion. That's over 4 years to combat rising costs, including a $500 energy rebate for more than 5 million households, $3.5 billion to help get more bulk billing appointments, $2.7 billion for rental assistance, $1.9 billion as well for the single parent payment. Also, no change at this stage to the estimated costs of stage 3 tax cuts, even though that will have gone up. That debate will happen apparently in a year's time. Those on JobSeeker as well will receive an extra $40 a fortnight. That will help more than 1 million Australians. You can see the amount that will go up over that fortnight. Defence also receiving a budget boost. We knew a bit of this. The $1.6 billion for long-range strike missiles, though, and $2.5 billion to actually manufacture guided weapons in Australia. The opposition is criticising it on two fronts, questioning whether it helps the rising costs enough and if it will hurt the economy through inflation.
Under this budget, at the very least, we know that interest rates will be higher and for longer, which is going to be a double whammy for Australian families. They're already $25,000 worse off under this government. There was nothing for them in the budget last night.
The Treasurer says the budget was carefully calibrated to address the cost of living for those hurting the most.
The budget that we designed and carefully calibrated and released last night will address cost of living pressures rather than add to inflation. That advice is really clear. You're right that the combination of the measures in our energy plan are actually putting downward pressure on the inflation forecast in the budget. That's really important. And the other measures are not expected to add to these inflationary challenges. And the reason for that is because not all of this cost of living package hits the economy at once.
The Prime Minister also defending any claims of inflationary pressure as to whether that would ultimately end up with the RBA having to increase rates as a result.
Together with our price caps on gas and coal we introduced in December last year are estimated by Treasury to take 0.75% off inflation. So we could have done what some suggested, which is to hand cash out to provide that support. Instead, we designed a mechanism to reduce people's power bills that provides that support to families, whilst at the same time it therefore is deflationary as a measure.
Well, in a bid to help out with those people dealing with inflation, the federal government allocating almost $15 billion from the budget for targeted relief, as it's calling it. Holly Edwards-Smith is live in Melbourne. So, Holly, some money dished out in particular to those on welfare payments. How are taxpayers responding today there in Melbourne?
Tom, the response this morning has been overwhelmingly positive. Voters are incredibly happy with the budget that was handed down last night, the second by Treasurer Jim Chalmers. So I've been out this morning speaking to people here in Melbourne. We've also been gathering perspectives of people in Sydney. And again, it's been pretty positive overall. People are happy that the government is taking steps and putting money to assist the cost of living crisis. It's been the topic, or the main topic or issue affecting Australians over the past 12 months rather. We've seen the cash rate, of course, increase by more than 3.5% since this time last year, impacting people's mortgage repayments, affecting how much they're having to spend on groceries every week and, of course, power bills. And that's something that the government is looking to address. So 5 million Australian households will receive a $500 payment or assistance over the next financial year in their power bills. We've also seen increases to AusStudy, youth allowance and, of course, JobSeeker. There have been some questions, though, raised about whether or not particularly these payments go far enough. Some people concerned that it might not be enough to address problems affecting those on those repayments in the current climate.
Yeah, I think it was a fairly good budget. I think it was pretty economically responsible. You know, I look forward to what they do next.
Do you think there could be more done?
Yeah. I think, like, not too much taxing, stuff like that, trying to see into the real situation of the people living, like strangers coming into the countries, and providing more, especially for housing and rental issues.
I think it's just a band-aid, but it's short term and make everybody happy for a little while.
That is very good, because I see my electricity bill going up all the time, and the less we pay, the better it is.
Everyone's going to expect them to fix things that went wrong for the last 10 years in the first year. It's not going to happen. This is a starting point. It's a good starting point.
I think they pretty much covered it very, very well overall. I mean, you know, someone's going to be a little bit dissatisfied with it, but that happens all the time. But no, I think they got it right most of the time.
Tom, so voters overall pretty happy with last night's federal budget, in particular that $14.6 billion to assist with cost of living.